if you do win and you do become Speaker, you'll probably have the deepest tan of any Speaker in American history. And there's actually been a poll out in your state of Ohio saying 30% of the voters think you spend too much time on your tan, and 27% don't like it. Is this something you have to overcome?
Well, they probably weren't there yesterday when I was out cutting my grass or when I was out riding my mountain bike, all right?
But it is not the color of his skin, but the content of his ideas that has President Obama focused on would-be Speaker Boehner.
I can't top that. Top Line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABC News Washington Post Top Line. I'm Rick Klein.
And I'm Jonathan Karl.
Every day at noon Eastern, we're right here bringing you the latest in politics. It's twitter.com/Rick Klein, twitter.com/John Karl. John, thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Good to be here.
He is back from being on assignment for an extended period of time. We have no confirmation on his exact whereabouts over these last week and a half or so. Please let us know what is going on today, sir.
All right, we'll start it up. Newt Boehner, for the second time this week, the President of the United States is going on the attack against the minority leader in the House, John Boehner, clearly attempting to create a situation like we had nearly a generation ago when Democrats managed to turn Newt Gingrich into the enemy that they would run against nationally. It worked back then. I'm not so sure it works this time.
Well, what's interesting is we haven't seen the name attached yet. Newt Gingrich was part of the Clinton stump speech every time. It was Gingrich policies, Gingrich, Newt. Now it's the man who wants to be or thinks he can be Speaker of the House. Right. When the turn gets made and it is Boehner, then I think we see a real change in strategy for the fall. Next up, Mayor Rahm. All of Washington is talking about this one. Rahm Emanuel, the White House Chief of Staff, who has openly said that he's interested in being mayor of Chicago someday, has his opportunity, and you don't get chances like this very often. Mayor Daley has shocked the entire political nation when it comes to this announcement and saying that he will not run for another term. All the speculation now is that he's going to jump in, but I tell you, it is going to be a tough race if he decides to run for mayor of Chicago. It's been a while since he was in that city. Yeah,
but it seems like all indications are he's going to go for this. And keep in mind, this is not something that comes open very often.
That's right.
I mean, it has been 21 years since we last had a clean shot at the mayor. Daley's been there for a long time. What I'm hearing is a lot of expectation that he will, in fact, jump into this thing. Next up, still in this game. Those were Lisa Murkowski's words, saying that she's not giving up on still running for Senate up in Alaska. She could either try to get the Libertarian line, she could run as a write-in ballot. This is interesting, Rick, because it was just a week ago, actually 6 days ago, I believe, that Murkowski conceded to Joe Miller. So I don't know if she's going to unconcede or how this is going to work, but she's clearly weighing her options.
Two possibilities. One is that she could run on the Libertarian Party line. They actually have a Libertarian candidate that have to bounce for her. Or she could run as a write-in candidate. Now, that seems always far-fetched, but the Murkowski name has been in Alaska for a long time. If she decides to do that, I would got to think that's going to siphon votes away from Joe Miller. Maybe make this race in play for Democrats.
For Scott McAdams.
You know his name.
Yes,
that's good to know. And finally today, Palin storms Castle. This is a tweet that tweaked the Republican establishment. Sarah Palin is out there again. It's actually a retweet, which makes it even more interesting. But she is retweeting a pro-Christine O'Donnell message. Christine O'Donnell, of course, the Tea Party candidate, long shot, running against Mike Castle, the establishment choice in the Republican primary in Delaware that's next week. This could be the latest front in these Tea Party battles. And now you got Palin with her hundreds of thousands of Twitter followers knowing that maybe Christine O'Donnell is where it's at.
You just can't help yourself, can you?
No, I cannot.
I mean, now you're talking about retweets of Sarah Palin's this is great. But actually, this is fascinating because this is completely insane from the Republican perspective. Because if the line is from Republicans, everybody except for Sarah Palin apparently is that if O'Donnell wins this thing, the Republicans lose their shot at that seat.
That's great stuff for paleontologists. Well, John, you were in Nevada last week, out in Vegas. What'd you bring us?
Well, this was good stuff. A rare interview, somebody we've wanted on the show for a long time. The Republican nominee in Nevada, Sharron Angle. Here it is. Harry Reid is a tough opponent.
Yes.
And he's painting you as a real extremist. I mean, you can't put on the television.
It's the only thing he can do.
So how would you describe your politics? You know, he wants us to believe that you're a right-wing extremist. Mm-hmm. So what are Sharron Angle's politics?
I'm a mainstream American, and mainstream Nevada understands that very well. That I promote what they believe, which is lower taxes, less government regulation, that the true issues are our economy, our jobs, our homes, and that the person who's occupying this U.S. Senate seat lives in Washington, D.C. and is completely out of touch and disconnected from Nevada. He's forgotten what Nevada's all about.
And how bad are people hurting here? I mean, you're out here talking every day.
How bad are we hurting?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. 14.3% unemployment is the average in Nevada. So understand that many of these communities are up in the 18th percentile of unemployment. We have the highest rate of mortgage foreclosures in the nation. We are completely upside down in the values of our homes right now.
Now, we asked Harry Reid about that, and he said that that is not his responsibility, that you know, to blame him for this economic crisis is just wrong and not fair. That he's been trying, he's been, you know, working on getting things to help for Nevada, but that, you know, this is the George Bush economy. These are factors, you know, beyond one senator's control.
Well, understand that Harry Reid was Senate Majority Leader in
10 o'clock this morning, Senator McCulsky
the Bush years.
To be here to speak on
so these policies that have been coming forward, for him to say that he hasn't been responsible, he's been responsible through several administrations. He's been there. He's been voting on these policies that have really become the problem.
Now, you've been hammering over countless things. I just want to ask you about a couple of them. One is the comment that you made about entitlement programs violating the First Commandment. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you meant about that?
I don't think that's what I said.
You said that they turned government into our God.
I said that, no, I didn't say that. Actually, that was a discussion that I was having with CBN. We were talking in very Christian terms. That's what Christian Broadcasting Network is. So you speak the language of the folks that you're communicating with, and I was speaking in their language. And the language that I used was that in our country, we have become a country that has put our faith not in God we trust, which is on our money, as you know. Not in God we trust, but in government we trust. And that's what I was referring to, that we have allowed government in many ways to take the place of God.
So a couple of other things that get brought up when you said that if things don't turn out the right way in this election, people may seek Second Amendment remedies. What did you mean by that? What are Second Amendment?
I don't think that was exactly the way I said it.
You tell me. Forget how you said it. You tell me.
We were discussing once again, in a context of the Second Amendment, we were having a discussion about the Founding Fathers and why they had put the Second Amendment into the Bill of Rights. And they felt that there were times when governments became tyrannical, that we needed to have a place for the people to be able to secure the blessings of liberty, which is what they did in the Revolutionary War, as you know. And that was why they put the Second Amendment into the Constitution. And that was what we were speaking of on that program, was the whole Second Amendment and why it was there.
And of course, Jefferson said the tree of liberty needs to be fed with the blood of tyrants and patriots from time to time. But I mean, could you foresee us getting in a situation where there is such anger in this country that we're in a revolutionary situation again?
Well, I think that at the conclusion of that discussion, I said I hope not.
Yeah. But you think it's possible? I mean, hoping.
Well, of course, anything is possible, I suppose. You know?
Yeah. Finally, the one where the radio host was talking about how there are domestic enemies in Congress, and you said, I agree. Can you...
Again, in context.
In context. That's why I'm asking. I want context.
In context, we were talking about the policies of the government that have really caused problems for us in the last 18 months. We have seen policies come down that have really become the enemy of the people.
Do we have domestic enemies in the halls of Congress in the sense of, you know, as you were talking about, you know, all enemies foreign and domestic? Do we have enemies of the country in the halls of Congress?
Well, certainly people who pass these kinds of policies, Obamacare, cap and trade, stimulus, bailout, they're certainly not friends to the free market system.
So what are they?
They're not friends. You know, that is not a friendly. That is not friendly to building a free market system and more jobs.
If you beat Harry Reid, you come to Congress. What's that going to be like? What is Sharron Angle in the United States Senate going to be like? How are you going to fit in?
Oh, I think that I'll fit in just fine. You know, there are folks there that already think like I do. Jim DeMint, Tom Coburn, Mike Pence, Michelle Bachmann. There are also people who are running in this cycle who think like I do. I'm not going to be the only one who thinks that the answer to the problems are less government regulation and lower taxation.
You're not going to change your views. You're not going to become a Washington insider.
You know, that's the beauty of a record. You can see who I am, and all you have to do is go to the legislature here in the state and you can see that my record has been very strongly lower taxes, less government regulation, very constitutionally minded. And so in the primary even, I said, don't just believe what I say. Go look at the record. You can trust the record.
All right, Sharron Angle, thank you very much for spending time with us.
You're welcome.